Guys, as we all know, it's about that time. As the offseason approaches, I think it's time. It's time for that talk. We have to have that talk, Lions fans. Me to you, as Lions fans, it's time for the talk. We're going to be talking about free agency. Okay, yes, we're going to give a little bit of an offseason preview kind of thing here. Now, obviously, we're not going to be talking too much about the draft and more about free agency, but just kind of breaking down some of the needs, what the Lions are going to spend their money on, how much money they're actually going to have to spend, and just stuff like that. So I think it's time to have that talk. Let's get this thing started. Okay, everybody, let's talk a little bit about numbers first before we get into our needs. Numbers-wise, we have over $50 million in cap space heading into the free agency period. That's because we released Snacks Harrison. We also released Rick Wagner, which added about, $12 million to that because they both saved us about $6 million in free agency. Let's just say roughly $6 million in free agency. I believe Rick Wagner was like 6.1 and Snacks was 6.7. I believe that's how it worked out. So I guess actually it's almost $13 million in free agency they saved us. And then obviously, there's some of the dead money between Rick Wagner, Snacks Harrison, and Quandre Diggs. Now, a lot of things are changing with the CBA and stuff like that, but let's just break down the numbers and keep it very simple. The Detroit Lions, with roughly over $50 million in cap space to spend, the Detroit Lions will spend about $25 to $30 million, or they can spend that much in free agency. That's probably how much they're going to spend this offseason. They're also going to keep about $11 million for the draft, and they're going to have the other 10 to 15 for anything else that comes up, whether it's signing another player, just for if something goes wrong, if you need the money for some reason. They'll kind of just keep that money because you don't want to be broke, all right? You don't want to be in that situation. Bob Quinn does not want to be in that situation. That's kind of how the money will work out this offseason. Now, you're probably thinking 25 to 30 mil. That's not a lot. But you have to keep in mind, the Detroit Lions signed Jesse James, Trey Flowers, and Justin Coleman all together for $11.6 million for their first year. All three combined. Now, that's because that was their first year of their deal. Obviously, over time, it's going to go up because it was a backloaded contract for sure for those guys. That's how we decided to handle that. But there's definitely a lot of guys we can go get with $25 to $30 million in cap space when it comes to free agency. A lot of moves that we can make. And looking at some of our needs, obviously, there's a lot of needs. Getting rid of Rick Wagner was the most recent thing that happened, which opens up the right tackle position. On the offensive line, we don't look bad left side, right? We have Taylor Decker, who I think is good to go. Left guard is kind of questionable. I'm assuming actually at this point it may be Joe Dahl. Right now it probably looks like it's going to be Joe Dahl. At center, we still have Frank Ragnow, so we're good there. And now at the right side, we don't really have anybody. I would say to fill in right now, it would be Garnett and Joshua Garnett at the right guard spot, and that right tackle would be Terrell Crosby. That's probably what the lineup looks like right now. Obviously, we want to upgrade that to protect Matthew Stafford. At least I believe they want to upgrade that. I hope they don't rock with that. I really don't. No hate to any of those guys, but at least upgrade one of those positions, at least the right tackle position. Please upgrade that position. But hey, if they don't, they don't. So we'll see. Have to wait and see what happens. Terrell Crosby is a solid backup, but we'll just have to wait and see what happens. So that's the first need, obviously. Next up, right guard, which I kind of touched on already. We already got rid of Graham Glasgow. Well, we didn't get rid of him, but we're not going to pay him again, or at least it doesn't seem. We kind of let him walk in free agency. We could bring him back in free agency, but that's probably not likely going to happen. So we're not going to spend the big money, which is okay. We're not going to spend, $10+ million on an offensive guard. We're going to save that money for elsewhere. Maybe that's going to get a cheaper offensive guard. Maybe that's going to get Joe Thuney and spending even more on the left guard spot, moving someone to right guard, because I don't know if you want to move Thuney to right guard, but I guess you could. So yeah, there's a lot of possibilities that could happen, but those two are the needs offensive line. Quarterback, we still have Matthew Stafford, so we're good there. We could potentially be looking for a backup quarterback. I think at free agency, if we do get a backup quarterback, it's going to be a veteran presence. I do not hate the thought. I actually kind of like the thought of bringing in a veteran behind Matthew Stafford. Actually, a guy that's come up a lot recently is Marcus Mariota. That could be an interesting one. He's not super old. Obviously, he can continue to grow, so he could be not only a veteran, but also kind of a developmental quarterback, because maybe if he has the opportunity to sit behind a player like Matthew Stafford, yes, they play a little bit different of style, but maybe if Mariota can sit behind Stafford, he can learn a lot and potentially be a really good quarterback. When Matthew Stafford is done, we'd already have an option there. Or we'll go elsewhere, maybe picking up a veteran that if Matthew Stafford goes down with an injury, we have a guy like Case Keenum that could step in, someone like that. Chase Daniels, someone like that could step in behind Stafford. And then obviously I think the third would be your developmental quarterback, okay? And that would be maybe a David Blau, maybe your Jeff Driscoll, who both I didn't hate last year, okay? I like both of them. I thought Driscoll played a little bit better. But again, a lot of people do like David Blau. Don't have a problem with either of them. Maybe we'll go get a different one. Maybe we'll go draft one. Okay, that's obviously different than free agency. Quarterback, kind of a need, but it's just depth. Running back, again, this one we're not really sure. It's not really a need, I would say, but it's something that the Lions may go after. I almost feel like they're going to go more in the draft. They could go on free agency and pick up some running backs. We've heard a lot of rumors that they're connected with a lot of these running backs, possibly Kenyon Drake, who's going to win around $8 million a year, possibly a guy like Deion Lewis, who I know a lot of people don't really want, but I don't know. He's going to remind me a lot of J.D. McKissick. I wouldn't be surprised if the Lions made that move, if they don't bring back McKissick, or they bring him back because it's like, oh, yeah, hey, now we got a receiving back again. It wouldn't shock me. It really wouldn't. it wouldn't shock me at all. Our running back group right now, though, without making any moves, would be Kerryon, Bo Scarborough, and a Ty Johnson. So we may add to that, we may not. We don't even have to, technically. We do have 3 running backs. They're all pretty young. They're all solid. Kerryon Johnson is solid when he's healthy. So we don't have to add to that, but we may even completely redo it. Okay, we may just get rid of Kerryon. We may trade him. We may add Jonathan Taylor or J.K. Dobbins. We may go big running back. We may wait a little bit. We may rely more on Ty Johnson, Bo Scarborough, add a depth guy like a Deion Lewis, possibly like a Jordan Howard. I don't know what they're looking to do, but that's more of a weird position, right? Running back position isn't a need, but it's also something that they could make a need if they want to. Wide receiver, we have our top 3 guys locked up. We did bring back Danny Amendola, which I was very happy about. We still have Marvin Jones Jr., who I believe we're going to keep around. I don't think he's going anywhere. And obviously, Kenny Galladay. Okay, Kenny G, he ain't going nowhere either. Then we have some depth, right? We got some depth question marks. Travis Fulgham possibly, if we bring back Jermaine Kearse, which we haven't yet. So it looks like he's going to hit free agency, but we could bring him back in free agency. We could draft somebody who I know a lot of people want to see happen because, the draft, everybody wants to see a wide receiver be drafted. Okay, this is a really deep draft class when it comes to wide receivers. So a lot of people want to see us draft a wide receiver, potentially a replacement down the road for Danny Amendola or Marvin Jones. It doesn't really matter, but either of them are, may not be here in the future. I would say Marvin Jones could potentially get a new contract. I don't know about Danny Amendola. He might be on his last deal with the Detroit Lions, so we'll just have to wait and see. He signed another 1-year deal, but he did do really well last year, so I wouldn't be surprised if we went for a future replacement for him in the draft. Maybe go get a fast slot wide receiver, and that could be a later round pick because it is so deep. Defensive side, defensive line is disgusting. Okay, we know we have to upgrade the defensive line. Defensive tackles specifically haven't really brought anybody back. We haven't brought back, we haven't made a deal with Ashawn. We didn't make a deal with Mike Daniels. We cut Snacks Harrison. So the defensive tackle position is super depleted. We still do have Deshaun Hand, but I feel like we're going to go after a big defensive tackle. This is where I thought we would make a big splash. So they went with Trey Flowers. I can see them going with a really, really good defensive tackle, possibly a DJ Reader, possibly a Javon Hargrave, someone like that. That's like way up there. That's one of the best defensive tackles. Or they could go with a budget one, and hopefully it works out. Maybe a veteran Michael Brockers. Maybe they go with a guy like Jordan Phillips. So there's a lot of options there. We'll see what they do. I do think, though, the Lions will take a big splash, try to pair him with Trey Flowers, or the Lions could go elsewhere, try to get a Yannick Ngakoue. I think that's how I'm trying to say his name. Yannick, I possibly could add Yannick from the Jaguars, and him and Trey Flowers could pair together, and I think it would really work well. When we get to that 2-4-5 when they're kind of playing like interior anyways, both of those guys would do pretty well, I think, together. That'd be a pretty scary defensive line. I'm just saying. There's definitely a lot of options when it comes to the defensive line. Edge rushers, I'd say there's a need there, but it's kind of weird. Edge rusher is weird because we do have Devon Kennard, who I like at the edge rusher. I think Jared Davis, I would not be shocked if we tried him at outside linebacker. With our new linebacker coach, would not be shocked that they tried him there. He's not the greatest covering guy. He can tackle, and he gets a lot of pressure. He doesn't always finish with play, but he gets a lot of pressure when he blitzes. I could definitely see him trying to play on the outside linebacker and getting a new inside linebacker to play with a Jelani Tavai this season. And then we get to interior linebacker, where I think Jelani Tavai, he's showed us a lot of good things last year, and he may have been our best interior linebacker last season. Cornerback, everybody wants to see what we do with Darius Slay, right? That's kind of the headline. Well, what are we going to do with Darius Slay? Are we going to keep him? Are we going to trade him? Or, what's the move there? Not cut him. He does have 1 year left on his deal. I do believe the Lions will keep him, knowing that they have to win next season. Obviously, a 17 playoff would definitely help out. I do believe they will keep him around, so we'll just have to wait and see for that. But that's definitely a big question mark. If the Detroit Lions, if they don't keep him around, they have to find a way to replace him. Is that Jeffrey Okudah? Is that a big free agent? And then possibly Amani playing the 2. I do have a lot of confidence in Amani. The Lions maybe don't even have to address the cornerback position much at all. They don't have to go get a big free agent or draft pick. They could rock with Slay, Amani, and possibly get a late round pick or a very cheap free agent to fill in for depth. They could do that. They bring Rashawn Melvin back and have the same group as last year with Justin Coleman in the slot. They could do that, maybe with more pressure to look a lot better. Safety position, I would say keep your eye on a veteran safety. I think that's what the Lions are going to target this offseason. There's a lot of good players out there. I like McCourty a lot. Yes, he's a little bit older, but I think he's definitely a ball hawk still. Showed a lot of good things recently. Still kind of old, but hey, I'd definitely bring him in. Obviously, the Patriots thing, that'd be a reason Lions might bring him in anyways. But I would say they're probably going to go after a veteran when it comes to safety. I think Will Harris and Tracy Walker, 2 young guys, are not going to win another rookie, but they could. They definitely could. I mean, there's going to be options out there throughout the draft. Maybe if they trade back and Grant Delpit's still there, they take him. Or Xavier McKinney, they take him. I think they'd go with Xavier McKinney over Delpit, but I'm just saying. So that's kind of your wrap-up. I mean, we did bring back Dom Mulebach. Sam Martin's kind of we're not really sure about what's going to go on with the punter position. Yeah, I mean, the free agency should be exciting. We're going to have money to spend, and we're going to make some moves. So I would definitely say there's a lot of big names to look out for. Look out for Jack Conklin. Look out for DJ Reader for sure. I think those are 2 guys. If you guys really want to know who I'm predicting the Lions will sign, I put 3 or 4 videos up now of predictions on who the Lions will sign when it comes to free agency. My last one was the Lions will sign this cornerback. I also did one on Ted Karras, and I also did one on, what was my other one? I don't even remember. DJ Reader. So if you guys want to go check those out, definitely do it. Last time I did it like as a more like, oh, you don't know till you watch the video. So I'm not going to tell you now, so you got to watch the video to find out. If you guys like that better, let me know. But that's kind of your, preview for the NFL free agency in the offseason. This thing's going to be exciting. The Lions have a lot of holes to fill. I'm excited to see how they do it. I think they can capital do it. They have the, I don't know what I'm trying to say. They have the 3rd pick in the draft, all right? They have 7 draft picks. They got 2 in the 5th round. They got a lot of money. They have the ability to go make some changes and fix this roster, and I'm excited to see what they do with it. So we'll just have to wait and see, but until then, thank you, probably, for watching. Monday at noon, everything's really going to kick off, but tomorrow is really when free agency starts. So we could be seeing moves as soon as tomorrow. Thank you, Brad, for watching, and I'm out.